It's finally warming up a little bit here in Tennessee. It's 54 degrees right now, which I'll take that over 20s and feels like of 14 degrees. Spent some time this morning working on more video editing. Man, I knew that video editing was going to be a challenging thing for me. There's things in life that I picked up very easily, and there's things that I don't, and video editing has just always been one of those more creative outlets that intimidated me, and I wasn't super crazy about it ever, but I really want to be able to be good at it and share it. So it's kind of like sourdough. I really struggle with the idea of sourdough and the more exact rules of baking, and I like cooking a lot more because you can just like make a lot of it up. And now I'm great at sourdough, and I have learned my own way of making it up. Mr. Squirrel. I don't know why squirrels around here have a death wish, but they absolutely do. But yeah, with the sourdough, I followed the rules long enough, and then now I'm comfortable enough to make it up and feel a little bit more confident in that. But anyways, video editing, challenging, very time consuming. I'm hoping to stick with it, continue practicing till I get better, hopefully. Normally something being difficult doesn't keep me away from it. So video editing this morning, and then I spent some time on the phone with a peer and mentor of mine, Laura Peck. She runs a trail riding business northeast-ish of me. And so we caught up a little bit, and that's always great. And I am now on my way to support my new obsession, which is the Mustangs. So Rebecca at Fall Creek Falls Equestrian asked if I would be interested in helping unload and sort some horses that are arriving today. And I said, absolutely. I want to do anything I can to be around these guys and learn and support this. So I'm headed out there. I'm super excited to check these guys out. I think they're all going to be like probably some of the really, really beautiful big ones. We'll see. And I'm going to show Rebecca my camera setup. And Rebecca is just such a cool supporter of everything, really. Business, social media growth, Mustang things, all that. And so we were chatting a little bit yesterday about the meta glasses versus having something like my Osmo Action 4 versus using your phone. And we're really all wanting to try to grow our social media presence, not just for the awareness of the Mustangs, but also as an alternate revenue stream. And I think for some people, the social media stuff comes really naturally, and then for those of us that maybe are really farm focused, it's a little bit more difficult. So we're trying to sink our teeth in to that a little bit more and understand it, and get to a point where we can produce quality content in a way that was fruitful for us. And I think that idea is that we find like a niche that we fit in and are able to fold it into our daily lives and our routines a little bit better. So I'm excited to show her what the setup that I decided on. She has the glasses, and the part for the glasses for me were tough because while it is hands-free and lightweight, you have shorter video clips. And with my Osmo Action 4, I can do just much longer clips. I can change the frame rate and the quality of how it records on the fly. I can see how much record time my SD card can currently take. And I also got a package that includes a rechargeable battery pack, which is really cool. So this holds 3 batteries, and I can charge them all at once overnight and then switch them out. So each battery lasts about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It just depends on the quality, frame rate, and resolution that I've chosen. So I really like that. And then getting this mic mini has been the other big game changer. It was only $25, and it makes a huge difference in audio quality, and it pairs super easily, and it's really small. And if I lose it, it's only $25 to replace. So I love that. So for me, doing a little bit more of like an informative vlog style content creation, or at least that's my concept right now, the Osmo Action Cam just made sense. It's just so versatile. Right now I've got it mounted in the car on a sticky mount. I've also got my action stick that I can carry. I've got a head mount. I looked into it for riding. I did take it riding and trail clearing, and it happened to be raining, so the the head mount that I got to slip over my helmet did come off, and I had to go looking for the camera. So after that I did some more research, and it was also really heavy. The camera doesn't feel like it's that heavy until you put it on your forehead and it's pulling your helmet down. I think on a heavier helmet, like a motorcycle helmet or something, you wouldn't really notice it, but my equestrian helmet's quite lightweight, and so it really was pulling down on the front. So anyways, I did some research, and it's actually considered quite unsafe to have it mounted to your helmet anyways, and what is actually recommended is a chest strap. So I'm going to look at investing in one of those. I hate tight things on my chest, so I'm trying to figure out what's going to be comfortable for me, and I've been looking at different products and stuff like that. But I think that's going to be ultimately the best way to safely and comfortably record footage while riding, which I'd really like to do. So anyways, I just wanted to pop on here and let you know what I'm up to today, and hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit of content while I'm out at Rebecca's house. I'm gonna try to make the most out of being trapped in the car for the next hour and a half, and share some thoughts with you all. So I have adopted a Mustang. Wow, there's an insane Cybertruck in our very small town that's got a custom race car paint job on it. That was the most wild thing. I wish I was fast enough to flip the camera around and show you. We live in a very, very small town in Middle Tennessee, and we do own a Tesla because we bought it when we lived in the city, and Zach's family is in Michigan, and we were doing, before the farm, a lot of commuting, and ideally when we get to a good place where we can leave the farm a little easier, we'll be commuting again. And so it had just made sense from a vehicle purchase perspective. And then now that we're at the farm, we commute. Zach still commutes to work about an hour away, so it still makes sense to keep it from a fuel standpoint. But anyways, I adopted a Mustang, and I'm going to my third trimester. I have my third trimester appointment, I guess, the start of it, on Friday. I'll get my glucose test, my gestational diabetes test, and all that will be sorted then. And I'm sure I've gotten comments from friends and family members like, why are you getting a Mustang right now? You're about to have a baby, right? And there's a couple of reasons, and just, I don't know if you'd really call them reasons. It's just wills and wants. So first, I've always wanted a Mustang. I attended my first adoption event last year, got a better understanding of the infrastructure I needed, the pins and things like that. But it was super exciting, but we didn't have any sort of a means really at that point to make it happen. So it was kind of tabled. And then in December of this past year, so just a few months ago, I decided on a whim. I was like, I'm really wanting to do the Mustang thing. I think it would be really great. I'm trying to choose a direction, right? We've got a myriad of horses in our herd, and I don't really want to show. So while I love Pistol, my quarter horse, it didn't make the most sense for me to want to continue to invest in horses with these really, really nice pedigrees that are meant for showing and things if I'm not going to do that. Well-bred horses make great trail horses, sure, but so do well-trained Mustangs. So for me, if you're spending $5,000 to $10,000 on a well-bred quarter horse, you could still end up with the same kind of problems, whether it be genetically or behaviorally or whatever, as you do when you get a Mustang. So to me, it kind of didn't make sense to go down that path. Zach's in love with Appaloosas, and he would love for us to have a small breeding program at some point, but not something I'm interested or curious about right now. And it's just, I think it'd be a lot more work than it's worth. And I think it's one of those, we don't want to be Appaloosa breeders as a primary thing. We are not showing. So I think it would be one of those, if we find a mare that we absolutely love and we want to say we did it and have an offspring of her and have a well-bred Appaloosa, great. Maybe we'll do that eventually, but we're not going to have a whole breeding program. So that's off the table. And then I'm just not a crazy gaited horse lady. I really do like my trotting horses quite a bit. So gaited horses are very, very popular in Tennessee, and my mentor Laura, her primary thing is gaited horses, and I think that's awesome, and it's a great place to send people who are looking for that experience. But for the things that I like to do, I knew that those avenues were not it for me. So anyways, always wanted a wild Mustang, knew I didn't want to go down other breed paths, attended the adoption event, I loved it. And the thing that I love the most about the adoption event is the challenge of the animal behavior piece of it. So I previously was a vet tech for 7 years, and one of the things that I was really passionate about with that was animal behavior. So the difficult animals were often ones that I felt more confident handling and understanding. And I from the time I was a child, I spent, and even now, I spend most of my time with animals. And when I spend it with them, I'm studying them. I'm really taking in as much as I can. And so, and learning from them and their behaviors and personalities and things. And I've spent some time mentoring with trainers, and for a little while I thought I wanted to be a dog trainer, but that had too much of a ceiling on it for me. So I learned enough that I'm happy to help people as a hobby, but it's not going to be my primary career. But it is something I love, so it's just something I added to my toolkit of things that I know now. And anyways, I love the idea of working with a wild animal, and they're all so unique. You don't know their experiences, and they're uninfluenced by humans. So if I went out and bought a foal or a colt or whatever, they would have human influence, right, already upon them. And while the wild horses have some experiences in the corrals, they typically don't have enough that they've got a real solid opinion that can't be changed. They're not being haltered, they're not being tied, they're not being trained and worked with. The most that's happening is they're getting moved from to corral and pushed up on a trailer and off of it. So I really felt like the benefit of the Mustang was getting truly a blank slate, even if you're getting a full-grown horse. I like the idea of a mutt. I'm a big rescue fan. I love purebred animals, and I think they have their place, and I think the amount of time and effort humanity has put into different breeds of animals is really beautiful, and it kind of shows our relationship with animals. But there's people that are here to dedicate their lives to that, and that's not me. So I love a good mutt. I love genetic diversity for my animals, and the Mustang appealed to me for those reasons. So behaviorally made sense, the behavior training, the breeding piece of it, or the breed part of it, just being kind of a mixed bag. And what I didn't know, and I've since found out, is the different herd management areas, or HMAs. They typically have an idea of what breeds may influence them. So Cena, for example, is influenced by Morgans, thoroughbreds, and draft crosses. So I don't know that he really has any draft in him with his size and characteristics, but I could definitely see the Morgan for sure. And so that's pretty cool. You can kind of get a little bit of an idea of what some of the breed influences could be for the Mustang you're getting. So it's not like you're completely blind to what you got going on. So conceptually, I love the idea for a bunch of reasons. December was rough for me. It was rough. Holidays on a farm. Our Airbnb wasn't getting any bookings. I was stressed about it. We were trying to get a hot tub installed. The pressure of the gift season and all the family dynamics and political working were a whole thing. And so I was just looking to give myself a little bit of sunshine. And I was like, I think Fall Creek Falls, and made some posts. I was thinking about Mustangs again, basically. And I was like, at this point we had set up our arena, and I was like, I have a much better space to work with a Mustang now. I think I could really make this happen whenever the next adoption event comes around. So let me just go ahead and submit my application and see if I get approved. And I did. So I submitted my application, I got approved, and I was like, all right, cool. So I'll just put that in my back pocket, and the next time there's an event, we'll see how it goes. So why is there a dog in the road? So within a month of me getting approved, Rebecca posted that there was an adoption event happening, and so then I had to figure out a way of like, how do I spin this to my husband, right? Because this all just was so happenstance. I happened to apply on a whim, and then there happens to be this adoption event that comes up right after, and I also happen to be pregnant, right? And a piece of the pregnancy, that being pregnant in general and having a child was a really big thing for me. I've got a lot of childhood trauma, and my mother really made me feel like I was a burden to her in her life. And so I'd always felt that that's just how kids were, and that if I had children, my life would be over, which is not true. I have since gained a more healthy perspective, and I have got a really good friend support base, and I do not subscribe to the "your life is over because you're a mother" ideology anymore. I think everything is what you make it, and if you want to do something bad enough, you'll make it work. And humanity's been doing that for thousands of years, so why can I not? So anyways, I've been making sure I stay in that positive mindset, and one of the things that I enjoy is being outside on my farm and working with my horses, and having clients out for rides and lessons. And I knew going to my third trimester that was gonna probably get a lot more difficult, and at some point I may have to stop riding. So, and thinking about the decision to get a Mustang, it would be my first Mustang and first horse that I've ever gentled, broke, whatever, right, or attempted to. And I was like, it would make sense for me, and I think it would be a good thing for my mental health if I had this horse to work with on the ground in my third trimester, because that's something I can reasonably do, and it gives me a project, it gives me something to focus on, it gives me something to be excited about, something to get me out of bed every morning. Depression, something that I've struggled with, and I've gotten a lot of really great support for that in this past year, which is why I felt comfortable with pregnancy and going forward with that. But I felt like having the Mustang would really just give me that bright light and that thing to look forward to. So that was kind of the logic. I told my husband, hey, I really want to check this out. I only want to do it if it feels right. I don't want to just take any Mustang home. I want to go there and meet them, and I want it to feel like a good decision. I didn't want him to think I was just gonna get a Mustang for the sake of I got one. And so he said, all right, as long as you don't get on it till after you have the baby, then I'm down for it. So, or I'm down to let you explore it. And he's just really supportive in general. I'm very lucky to have such a supportive husband as a partner. So I signed up for the adoption event. Zach did not get to go with me on Saturday, which is when I met Cena. But I sent him videos and sent him text messages with how things were going and how I was feeling. And Cena was initially not available, and I got very lucky, and the trainer who had reserved him agreed to, since it was my first horse. The trainer I'd been working with basically called her and was like, hey, this is this person's first horse. Is there any way you'd consider? I think it'd be a really good fit. And I got really lucky and Dusty. Thank you for letting me take Cena home. I really think he's the perfect first Mustang for me to have. And so I had to pull the trigger because everyone wanted him. So it was like, if he was available now, I needed to make it happen. So without Zach seeing him, I went ahead and put my name on him. Oh, I'm going to go through a couple of little speed things here, so sorry about the noise. So I put my name on him, bought him. Next day was, I got to work with him a little bit. Next day was the clinic. I got to work with him a little bit more. And then I got Zach to go in and work with a Mustang, and he really enjoyed that and fell in love with that. So it's probably only a matter of time until Zach gets his Mustang home. We only have one gentling pen, so we have to do one at a time. But it all just worked out, and one of the things that this farm has taught me is some things just happen when they're supposed to, whether or not it was part of a 5-year plan or some really well thought out thing. And then this Mustang journey was one of those things. Everything just fell in line at the perfect time. And I am grateful that it did. And so that's why I'm in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy training a wild animal. And I think it's just really cool and special. And I'm always going to be careful. I want my child to be safe, and I want to be safe. 4-way starts are so hard in Tennessee. There you go. And yeah, is it crazy and is there risk involved? Yeah, but like, I'm going to be around my horses anyways. And I didn't choose a horse that is like, you know, crazy wild. He's just kind of normal wild. So I'm sure things will get a little Western once it's time to get Cena's saddle on. But at that point, our baby will be here, and that won't be a concern. And I'll still do everything to be safe, because I don't want to be on the ground. I don't want to get on that horse until he is ready to go. If I cannot get bucked off by Cena, that would be wonderful. This gives me plenty of time to work with him and teach him everything he needs on the ground. I'm not tied to one way of doing things with horses. I have been to clinics where the clinician says, get on the horse the second you can. And I've been to clinics where it's teach them absolutely everything on the ground before you get on. And I just happen to be in a place where I have to do the latter. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll teach Cena everything I can. If we get really great and I can put the saddle on him and I still can't ride because I haven't had the baby yet, then we'll work on our lateral movement and we'll pony him out. I'll take him out with pistol and we'll expose him to the creek and the woods and all the things. And I'll get him as exposed as he possibly can be before I get a leg over him. And if he continues to learn as quickly as he does, I think that by the time I am recovered and can get on, it should go pretty well. And that's the hope, that all this timing works out perfectly. And I'm not tied to a specific timeline in general. If I'm recovered and he's not ready to get on, that's fine. And if he's ready for me well before I'm recovered, we'll just keep learning cool stuff. Maybe by the time I get on, he'll be a very fancy broke trail horse, you know what I mean? And he'll be side passing and bidding at the pole and all sorts of crazy shit before I even get on. Who knows? So anyways, I don't think I'm actually that crazy. I can see why it sounds crazy to other people, but if anyone actually knew me, they would know that there's absolutely no stopping me from staying active and having chaos in my life, even as a pregnant person. So if it wasn't the Mustang, it was going to be something else. So yeah, I'm grateful for my friends in my small community that are supporting me in this, and especially the Mustang community. No one at that clinic batted an eye about me being pregnant and wanting to adopt a horse. And it wasn't in a toxic, like, yeah, I get Mustangs no matter what way. It was in a cool, no, you know, they weren't there to make you feel crappy about it. They could see my passion and they knew it's what I wanted to do, and they were going to support me in whatever way they could. And Meg helped me pick a very safe, well-rounded first Mustang. And yeah, it's been wonderful. So I'm pulling into the vet now. I'm going to get Archie's meds, then go to the bakery, and then I'll be down at Fall Creek Falls. So hopefully that was a good chat. I'm sure some people will heavily disagree with me and think I'm a terrible person, but I'm not. And I am safe, and my baby is safe, and everything will be fine. Okay, so I pulled up to Rebecca's right as the first truck was unloading and did not think to grab my camera as I ran over. So I went and grabbed it for the second truck unload and was able to capture these horses. These are Forest Service horses that have already been adopted. So none of these horses are available, and Fall Creek Falls Equestrian will serve as a pickup point for adopters to make it accessible for these horses to get into homes. The Forest Service is similar but different than BLM. So if you've already been approved for a BLM adoption, you do have to apply separately to adopt a Forest Service horse, but the requirements are all very similar. So 6-foot fencing, appropriate cover, things like that. It's all the same. It's just a separate application. They do not have as many horses available as the BLM does, so it's a little bit more rare to get a Forest Service horse. And they also aren't held in corrals as long. So most BLM horses are held for at least a year before they're put up for adoption. The Forest Service horses are adopted out much more quickly. And so the horses you get from the Forest Service tend to be a little bit more true to wild because they haven't been in holding facilities for a long time. So those are just some of the cool differences that I learned about from Rebecca while I was here. And I hope you enjoy watching these horses unload. I cut out the pauses in between the loads of horses just to make the video flow better. But I did want to point out that when these horses come in, they're separated into different groups, sometimes by type of horse, like or equine, like burro versus horse. A lot of times by age, so yearlings and small horses cannot be shipped with adult horses. Sometimes they'll separate the mares out from the geldings, etc. So Rebecca runs down to the corrals and sorts them out and opens the gate to put the next group in a pen so that they stay in their shipping groups. This also can help them with stress of, being in a new environment. If you keep them with the group they've already been with for travel, it can help them not only have to, get used to a new environment, but also get used to a new herd. So if you keep them together, they kind of only have one obstacle and they've got their little support group they've been with for the whole time. So I thought that was a really great consideration that they have for these animals and trying to keep them as least stressed as possible during these transports that they have to go through to get to their new homes. This was our big surprise for the day that no one had expected, and we needed to figure out which mare this foal belonged to. So none of the mares stayed with it, and we knew we wanted to have it in its own corral with its mother so that we could monitor the health of the baby and the mom. So we spent some time sorting out mares that looked like they could potentially be nursing to try to get them together. So you'll see us here sorting and trying out to see who mom was, and none of them were calling out to it, and none of them were staying with it. And so I stayed with the baby while we sorted out the mares so that it didn't get trampled by anyone. And then we put it in the pen to try to figure out, who this little one belonged to. So this was a cool part of the day, and the first time I've really gotten to be super close with a foal like this. It was incredibly soft, like velvet fur, and so stinking cute. I could have stood there and cuddled it all day. But yeah, you can watch this cool part of the day unfold. At this point, they got the mare sorted that we thought could be nursing this foal. It looked like she was carrying milk, and so she was our first guess on who mom could potentially be. Again, none of the mothers were calling out to baby or in any way, kind of taking ownership of it. So we just kind of had to look at the physical condition of the mares and and then try them out one by one as safely as we could.
Push it in.
Yeah. I don't want to get too close.
Okay. Just give it a minute. It might need some milk.
Might need some more.
Not really acting like it's Mama.
No, she's not. The first mare wanted nothing to do with the foal, and so after giving them a few minutes, we decided to try a second mare that also looked like she could have milk and potentially be the mother. So this is us sorting her in with the foal. She's still very stressed about getting back to the herd, unfortunately, but she does eventually turn around and look at baby, and this did end up being Mom. Mom is a great mare, and we think baby will also lighten to be a beautiful great horse. So this is them finally kind of getting together, and then we'll kind of go from there on getting them secured and in a good space for monitoring.
Should we try to move Mom towards the shed?
I don't want it to.
This particular corral that the mare and foal were put into had a covered shed area with a round bale in it. It's not one that's typically used for holding the wild Mustangs. We actually use it as the picture pen primarily, and then horses that are staying a little bit longer will sometimes be moved in and out of this corral. So they were kind of staying back in this shed area, and it was really difficult to see if the foal was nursing, and it would have been really hard to keep an eye on the health of both of them. So I snuck back behind to get a better view to see if I could get a view of baby nursing, and it does try to nurse, but doesn't quite figure it out. So we decide ultimately to move them to a more typical corral where we can actually see Mom and baby and intervene if we need to for any health reasons. So we give them a little bit of time together. We know now for sure this is Mom and baby, but baby is not nursing yet, and we need to make sure that's happening. So we're going to move them into a different corral.
He tried to nurse, he just couldn't find it.
All right, so Rebecca grabbed the foal so that it didn't get trampled by Mom in the moving. We've got a corral down on the end with no horses in it, so I'm now just gently pushing Mom down to that corral where Rebecca has the foal, and we'll see if we can keep a better tab on them down at this corral. Shh, shh, shh.
Up, up, up. we go. I can't tell if it's latching or not, but it's in the right spot now. Doesn't seem like it is.
And Rebecca's plan worked beautifully. We were able to keep an eye on mom and baby, and baby
There we go.
within
Now it seems like
a
it's
few
suckling, I
minutes of
think.
being put in this new corral, latched and was nursing. So I watched them for a while Rebecca went and communicated to folks about this new arrival, and communicated to the adopter. So the adopter who purchased the mare will get the mare and the foal. And
Yep,
most of the mares from the Forest Service, like you kind of assume that they're pregnant, and they do get checked by a veterinarian before they're shipped. So the veterinarian did not think that this mare was going to foal prior to getting to her adoptive home. She did not appear to be as far along. And so this is something that is absolutely we try to avoid it. So typically if a mare seems as if she may foal soon or before getting into the adopted home, they'll be held at the facility until the mare foals, and then the baby will be weaned and then adopted out as a weanling. And then at that point, mom will become available for adoption, and then the baby will become available separately as a weanling. This is a scenario that no one's ever encountered before, so it was really special that I was able to be there to experience this. So there's other mares in this group that are also pregnant, but they're not nearly far along, and so the adopters are aware that they are pregnant and that they are early in pregnancy, and they are expecting to care for a foal and a mother in the adoptive home. So this is something that doesn't typically happen with BLM horses because the horses are held for so much longer than the Forest Service horses, but because the Forest Service wants to get them in homes as soon as possible, and they don't quite have the number of horses or the resources that the BLM has, they'd prefer mares that are not going to foal very soon to go ahead and get into those adoptive homes. It's a much less stressful environment to foal in, and so that's kind of the goal of the organization. So again, this is not typical at all, very rare. No one's experience is happening, but I was glad to be able to capture these moments. This is my final walkthrough as I wrap up my day at Fall Creek Falls Equestrian. I take you and show you some of the weanling pens and some of the older horses and some really cute burros right at the end. After this, I spent some time helping Rebecca write down the numbers of the horses in the different corrals so that she can sort them a little bit easier tomorrow when some of the adopters arrive to pick up. So this was kind of my day out in Pikeville, and it was really, really wonderful and special. We did end up moving before I left the mare and the foal since it had been nursing well. We had a more private pen off to the side that had some nice deep bedding and hay in there, and so we moved mom and baby to be away from the other corrals and away from the commotion of things, and we're going to take our time, or Rebecca's going to take her time getting her to her adoptive home so that mom and baby have plenty of time to kind of settle and recover. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll keep updating you with future Mustang and farm adventures.
And a whole lot of burros. Very good. Yeah, it's been nursing just fine. So, and she's fine with it.